I mean, you can be a bear at times, you can be a bull at times, but you need to look at the data. If you're going against the data and you're being emotional, you're gonna get wrecked. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to DCA. So what we're going to do today is take a look at Ethereum. We're going to look at Ethereum in relation to the US dollar, as well as Ethereum in relation to Bitcoin. We're going to look at the price change per day, both in terms of percentage and in terms of magnitude. We're going to compare that to Bitcoin over the same period of time and see what sort of similarities or differences exist between the two, and if there's any sort of and if there's any indication as to what may come for Ethereum based on what has happened to Bitcoin in the past. So you can see on the left, this is Ethereum USD, and on the right we have Bitcoin USD. What we're looking at here is the absolute value of every daily change. In other words, if the price went up or down, it will still fall in the positive range because we're taking the absolute value. So we're just trying to get a sense of how large the daily change is at any given point in time. So for Ethereum launching in 2015, we're looking at approximately 6 to 7 years here worth of data. Bitcoin, again, launching in 2010, we're looking at 6 to 7. There's actually slightly more data here for Bitcoin. We're going up to approximately late 2017 because I wanted to show in their market cycle a more similar point. If we just took the exact number of days and compared, we'd actually be somewhere around here in terms of Bitcoin's life cycle in relation to Ethereum. So the first striking thing you notice is the prices both sort of reach this peak at around 10 to the second. So that's $100. So in other words, around $100 price change on a given day. That was the peak at that time. And you can see for Bitcoin, at a very similar quantity of time elapsing since its inception, around 2 years, it peaked at around $100 and then came down and sort of its next highest price level, and remember this could be up or down, was at around back to $10. So you see we hit $100, and this is in 2013. So you can imagine as 2013 was hitting its first peak, it came up to around $100 at its maximum. Same thing for Ethereum in 2017, because there was sort of a mini double peak cycle in 2017 as well. It hit around $100 and then came up and made a second peak. You can see they both do exactly the same thing, but in different market cycles at different points in time. So a first peak and then a second peak, and you can see they're roughly at exactly the same level. So for Ethereum, it's at about 10 to 2.1 or 2.2. For Bitcoin, it's at about 10 to 2.3. So very similar. They both then go on to form a trough from the end of the 2017 cycle all the way up until we started forming this new upward momentum here in 2020 and 2021. Interestingly, if you look at Bitcoin, it peaked at nearly the exact same place where Ethereum peaked at, formed this trough, and then in 2016 and into 2017, then started to form this new run-up. And again, 10 to the third, you see that this price, and we don't have the end of 2018 on here. I'll show you that in a second. I just sort of wanted to compare where we might be at in the market cycles. We come up to 20 or 10 to the third, which is $1,000. Right around there is Ethereum's peak daily price change. Bitcoin, forming this exact same pattern in almost the exact same quantity of time, hit 10 to the third at, 3/4 of the way through 2017. Okay, so now we could then look at the rest of Bitcoin's history, because remember, we're only looking at through about halfway through or 3/4 of the way through 2017. Okay, guys, so on the left, like we said, we have the ETH USD daily change over time, and on the right, we have the Bitcoin USD change over time. But now we're looking at the full history of Bitcoin. So we said in the prior chart, we were looking at the data from about up to here. Okay. So, not quite until 2018, probably around August of 2017. So what you can see, like we said, very similar price patterns. Then Bitcoin. So if we sort of scroll through over time, if we finished about there, Bitcoin went on to go up to about 10 to 3.5. So not quite up to $10,000, but probably reaching max daily change of around $5,000. Now we are sort of at this level for Ethereum. We are sort of at the 10 to the third maximum daily price change. Okay. So if we then go with Bitcoin and see what happened, so we all know 2018 started the crypto winter. We came down. We sort of formed a trough at around 2019. And notice we're also hitting these back to these much lower low levels, which is a function in part of the price, right? As the price drops and you're reaching these extremely low valuations, then you're going to naturally have smaller fluctuations day to day in price, percentage wise. So we're forming the trough, and now you can see starting at around early to mid 2019, we started coming back up and forming this new, you can see it's very consistent, this bull shape. So we formed this bull from 2014 to 2018 peak, and now we've formed another bull and are starting up again. Now note, we formed another beginnings of a bull formation here. Now, if you go back to each cycle in the past, we've had instances like this. We've had in 2011 to 2013, you can see if you're only looking up until around there, we have these periods where we take a cool off time, maybe 3 to 6 months. You can see this would have been one where I'm sure at the time there's people calling for market cycle top. It's over. Not that even, dating back to 2013, that the concept of a market cycle had necessarily been fleshed out yet for Bitcoin or for the cryptocurrency asset class. But nonetheless, you can see 2013, same thing. We come up, we make this new peak, and then form this new trough. It's a short-lived trough, only lasting a few months. And then it goes to make these new price highs. Okay? So indirectly, even though we're looking at the absolute value, these are typically related to new peaks in price. And that's because as the price goes higher, there's more money to work with. So you can have a larger 1-day deviation. So in other words, think of it as on a day-to-day basis, when Bitcoin is at $50,000, it can go up $5,000 a day easily. But if the price is only $10,000, a $5,000 price swing one way or the other would be apocalyptic if it was heading down. And, obviously it would be amazing if it was going up, but things like that just don't typically happen. So this is partially just demonstrating essentially the market cycle and how it's building momentum over time. So like we said, now we're going from the 2014 top, the late 2013 top, building in, and you can see we're forming these troughs where we peak, and then we take a little cool off period, peak, and then cool off, and it just rinses and repeats until you finally hit a blow off top. Now, if you look at this cycle, you can see as we scroll through, We hit this peak in early 2021, okay? Then we cool off, and now we're coming back down, and it seems like we're building up for another run to reach another peak. Again, I don't do anything. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't have only can be bullish or only can be bearish sentiments. I think that's when you get emotional. You have to react to what the data is showing you. You can't react to what you believe or what you want is going to happen. You have to assess the data. If the data were all bearish, I would be presenting the bearish data. It doesn't make me a bear. It doesn't make me a bull. You can be at the time a bull and at the time a bear, but you never want to be definitively, I am this. So the data seems to suggest that this is not the end of the cycle. If you look at the end of the cycle, every time it's a very steep drop off, very steep drop off. Okay, each time it's been a very steep drop off. Okay, 2018, 2014, midway through 2011. Compare that to now. Just we'll zoom in and take a look. It's very gradual, this drop off, which is the consistent pattern we've seen in the market cool off periods. They've made these gradual downtrends. So as the market is running up, it gradually heads down over several months. But when it's a market cycle top, it drops and continues to drop. You just don't see things like this pattern, unless the market cycle is continuing historically. So that is one indication to me that the market cycle will continue. And furthermore, I think Ethereum will continue this trend of modeling after the Bitcoin price history, which is interesting because they're extremely different cryptos. That one is essentially a store of value, and one is a blockchain built for DeFi and for NFTs and that sort of thing. So they have very different functions, yet they're following a very consistent evolution. So I think this in particular is something worth paying attention to. All right, guys. So, like I said, I think it's something worth watching. I think there's huge things on the horizon for Ethereum. I think there's big things coming up for the crypto market in general. And that's going to be it for tonight. If you guys like this type of content, hit like and subscribe. Slap that notification bell for ever so time sensitive notifications. And until next time, see ya.